Good day, hello, evening, welcome. How are you out there in podcast land? This is David.
And this is Tim, not Robin Williams.
That's right. And we are so happy that you're listening to Johnny Has the Keys, a podcast about horror, science fiction, film, television, literature, incidents that affected our lives and hopefully affected yours. And we discuss all different permutations of it. How you been, Tim? What have you been up to?
Oh, what have I been up to? I'm studying up on some slasher history because of the new American Horror Story that's coming on. 84, I think is what it's called, where it looks like a slasher takeoff.
They're doing
And
the
the
80s
other day
homage?
Yeah, a little bit. I was like, I should revisit some of those that I'm less familiar with. So I watched Hell Night with Linda Blair and Vincent Van Patten. And that was quite interesting. Found out some really cool stuff on there. Like one of the producers was Chuck Russell, who did that remake of The Blob that we liked so much.
Yeah.
And the first production credit for Frank Darabont is on that movie too. He was like an assistant.
Wow. Okay.
Of the Shawshank Redemption, later that decade.
Mm-hmm.
But this came out in 1980. It has Linda Blair. She's a teen. Well, she's probably about 20, but she still can't act. And Vincent Van Patten, who's in it because of his pedigree of being Dick Van Patten's half-brother.
Mm-hmm.
Or not half-brother, excuse me, nephew. I think he's the son of Tim. I can't remember. I get all those Van Pattens mixed up.
Right.
But anyway, it's the one where they're being hazed to be in a sorority/fraternity, and they take them to this mansion and lock two girls and two boys behind the big iron gates, and they have to survive the night in the house.
With the killer. Yeah.
Well, it's a killer, but he's actually like a mutant son. It's some billionaire that slaughtered his entire family except for one, and then you find out there's actually two. So there's two killers, which is kind of cool because that's a key to Scream for any of those paying attention out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was a slasher movie. It is what it is, man. It's my jam.
Yeah, I remember that era of those, and Terror Train, Prom Night, Happy Valentine's Day, or My Bloody Valentine.
No, yeah, and Happy Birthday to Me.
Happy Birthday to Me.
Which had the chick from Little House on the Prairie in it.
Oh my gosh.
I know this shit,
Oh my gosh. Pretty soon they're going to do Arbor Day, or, Bar Mitzvah, whatever.
Leprechaun.
But so do you have high hopes for this season of American Horror Story?
I mean, they always lure me in with the subject matter, and I don't get disgusted till about 3 episodes in, so we'll see.
Okay. Well,
I mean, they do. I was telling Holly the other day. Holly listens to us, and she's an old friend or a friend of her mother's, and she listens to us semi-regularly, I'm pretty sure. And I was telling her the other day, it's like they take everything they can and throw it at the camera to see what sticks.
Yep.
And it's like, if you just stick to one story or one trope, or a collection of tropes, instead of trying to do every single subgenre in one at the same time, it might be good. But we'll see.
Well, we'll be monitoring you closely, and you let us know when the sucking begins, or whatever.
I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please do. Please
now
do.
back to you, David.
Oh, back to me.
It feels like a newscast in the horror news today. Now back to David.
Right. I haven't really watched anything big this week. I was going to, and then just life things happened and wasn't able to. So I did get to watch the movie we're discussing today. And ironically, as soon as it was over, the sequel started. So I watched it as well. And I'd only seen it once before, so it was very interesting watching the sequel again, too. I was going, okay, all right, I see where you wanted to go there, I guess. Sort of thing. Have you... But other than that,
sounding very good there.
Yeah, but other than that, haven't really done a lot this week. So let's get into it. Why not? And go right there, because We
Do you
are.
want to give? Oh, we haven't even talked about it. We haven't even named it yet, have we?
No, it's all a secret.
Are all
All
you
of you don't
hanging on
know.
the edge of your seat?
uh, it is a very became extraordinarily popular 1996 science fiction film called Independence Day. It was written and directed by Rolan Emmerich and Dean Devlin. It was basically the vehicle that launched Will Smith's career, other than Fresh Prince, his movie career,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Um,
For sure.
I'll give a brief synopsis and then we can go into reactions. So,
Okay.
basically, the Earth is essentially surrounded by these huge, large ships, circular, that come down and descend over major cities. I think 10 plus they mentioned in the movie. Uh,
They're
nobody.
like 15 miles,
Uh,
weren't they? 15 miles.
Wide, yes, but like 10 or 15
Yeah.
different cities, major cities all over the
Oh,
world.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And at the same time, communications starts to become interfered with, lots of static and weird stuff and everything like that. One lone scientist in America figures out that the reason for the satellite interruption is a signal buried in it that's coming from the alien ships that is coordinating an attack. They attack the Earth, destroying a lot of our monuments. And then it's up to the surviving members, the president, this scientist, his father, and some other characters to go to Area 51, which it is revealed actually exists. They devise a plan to infect the alien ship with a virus which will destroy their shields and allow for a counter-offensive and a wonderful speech by the president that will then allow them to fight off the alien invasion. And it all takes place in a 3-day time period from July 2nd to July 4th, which happens to be the United States Independence Day.
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Uh-huh. But after this movie, it
Yeah.
is no longer America's Independence Day. It is the entire Earth's Independence Day. So there you go. Tim, what did you think of this film?
You gonna go right there?
I am. I gotta well, normally we would say, so when was the first time you saw this? So Tim, when was the first time you saw this movie?
The first time I saw it, I'm pretty sure was in the theater in 1996,
Okay.
and I've avoided it ever since.
Avoided it. Why, Tim? It's such a highly rated science fiction film.
Well, and you know what? I'm all about, apocalyptic and destruction. But I mean, I honestly, I went into this with an open mind because I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this movie since 1996. It's very popular. I'm gonna watch it and see why it is I haven't watched it since. And then I don't know, about halfway through, I was like, I still don't like this movie. It seems like a movie that's built around special effects. It's like we're gonna have the most killer destruction sequence you've ever seen in your life. Oh, let's come up with a story for it. Is what it feels like to me.
Hmm.
There's a lot there's a lot of writing I think's very trite. I think there's very coincidental character crossover with, oh, I'm the president of the United States, but I'm also a pilot. I'll fly too. That kind of stuff. And I'm like, it wants to ring true to a movie like It's a Wonderful Life, where, the power of the American spirit is going to overcome, but it just doesn't have the substance to me of It's a Wonderful Life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think
Okay.
I would ever compare Independence Day to It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, just
Well,
because.
no, I'm not. I wouldn't. I'm just saying I think they're going for the same feeling, but it feels inflated and trite, for lack of a better word.
Okay. Interesting.
But we can keep going. I didn't. I mean, there's several things I like. I like the cast. I'm not big on Will Smith. but I've always liked Jeff Goldblum. I think that Bill Pullman is hilarious. I can never watch him without thinking of Ruthless People when he goes, yeah, and then we're off to Haiti. Tahiti, you idiot. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I concur with a lot of what you say in your reaction to it. I have to admit that this is probably one of 5 of my guilty pleasure movies. I can just sit and watch
Okay.
it. To me, this is the equivalent of a popcorn movie to you, or a drive-in movie to you in your horror genre. This is that equivalent to me in science fiction. Other than the aliens and attacking, there's not a lot of original concept in this at all, and even the way they attack is not original. I do think that Devlin and Emmerich kind of said, hey, what about an alien invasion like War of the Worlds, which is a big key for this, but where they destroy everything, but instead we want to destroy icons, which will we want to blow stuff up. And we want to blow big things up. So we want to blow up the White House, and we want to blow up the Empire State Building. We want to blow up the Eiffel Tower, kind of thing.
And those are my favorite parts.
And yeah, but there's just something about this movie, and as much as I am the logic guy on all of our movies and say, hey, this makes no logical sense. Why did they go into that room and not turn on the lights? Or why did they do this, take this action? There's something about this movie that just seems to work for me. All this coincidental BS all the way through it, I go, okay, yeah, sure. I'll buy that.
I'm Will Smith's girlfriend. You're the first lady? Are you were married to the president?
Oh yeah, or Will Smith alone.
I
Oh,
was like,
so
how the fuck?
he's a fighter, the only one that survives the first major assault, who just happens to always want to be an astronaut and have studied and taken the NASA test. Jeff Goldblum, the only person on the earth to figure this out, his ex-wife just happens to be, or his ex-girlfriend just happens to be the press secretary
the press
for
secretary.
the president.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, oh, I don't know. I mentioned, I guess the difference, you were talking about popcorn movies and B movies. I mean, I always kind of equate that with low budget. So that's why I have a hard time giving this one a break, because this movie cost money.
Oh, yeah.
This was not the budget of Splinter.
Yeah.
This was a big ass budget.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. Yeah. But this one,
and it was written by 2 guys on vacation in like a week. I read that somewhere.
Well, yeah, because they had done Stargate prior to this was their big accomplishment, and I think the story goes that they came up with the idea when they were actually doing press for Stargate, and one of them, I think it was Emmerich himself, said something about, what if all of a sudden, the Earth was attacked by aliens and they destroyed everything, and they said, ooh, that's a cool idea for a movie, let's do that. But it's not. There's very, very, very little about this movie that's original in any way. There are dozens of keys from it and inspirations and things and references and all of that. But it's just, I think you're right about the casting, the chemistry of the casting. I mean, I even like Robert Loggia. I like that old bulldog general kind of attitude that he has.
I mean, yeah, I like him in anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of like, Robert Duvall. I mean, he's just great.
The weakest person in this, because I kind of do like Smith in this. I like Will Smith in general. I like probably 50% of his movies. But I think the weakest person in the whole movie is frickin' Brett Spiner, who's just playing crazy Data. And he's terrible.
He's like a caricature, yeah.
Yeah, he and Randy Quaid
he's not
both
very well drawn.
He and Randy Quaid are both like they're doing a different movie. It's like, did you just phone this in this weekend, kind of thing? Harvey Fierstein is way over the top, but we don't care. That was a great, memorable character.
He's the token gay guy. Back then, they were still doing that. They
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, that probably is true. I would agree. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
David, why did I just send my mother to Atlanta?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the token gay guy and the token Jew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you got what's his name is Judd Hirsch is the token Jew.
Oh, that's right. No, I forgot. You're right. There is a
Yeah,
bigger Jew in there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schlemiel. I'm dressed like a Schlemiel. Schlemiel.
I forgot about
Yeah, what
that.
do you think? You're just going to go up and knock on the door? You got HBO.
Yeah.
They'll let you in, but no, you know.
And
uh,
I do have some casting notes, but I did want to say a little bit more about the background.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, I do like the tagline. The tagline was "Don't make plans for August." I thought that was pretty funny.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I didn't know that. That's good.
um, it was originally entitled Doomsday because they were having trouble with getting the rights to the words Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why that was, but they did have problems. And the military cooperated until they learned that Area 51 was going to play prominent, and then they said nix on that. Nah,
Yeah, and I always
which
wondered
is kind of
why,
interesting.
because
Yeah, exactly. That's the intriguing story right there.
right,
Is
but
it because there's something they don't want us to know?
or is it because no, if you're going to be that unrealistic, we don't want to work with you, blah
Right.
blah
Or are you
blah.
trying to ridicule us? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
either they're ridiculing the military or we've got secrets we don't want to talk about.
right.
I like the latter.
I do too. You know, you're too
Yeah.
close for comfort. We don't want you to know
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all the background I have. You've already talked about Dean and Richard. I mean Dean and Roland,
Yeah,
the guys that came up with this big balloon,
this yeah the story
this big beautiful balloon.
inspired by everything else story.
Yeah.
What about casting though? You said you knew some casting stuff.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot actually. Well, I mean, I have a generous helping. Um, the Will Smith character, Captain Steve Hiller, Eddie Murphy was the first choice. Um, guess that didn't pan out.
That would have sucked.
So, well, Will got really lucky because I could see them putting Eddie Murphy in that role.
Yeah.
But then also, everyone else considered were Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp, um, John Claude Van Damme,
Oh my gosh.
Billy Baldwin.
Well, I mean, they've got the Russell, the Randy Quaid character. That's the drunk pilot. His son reminds me of miniature Keanu Reeves anyway. I don't know who
Right,
that actor
right.
is, but he's like a baby Keanu. So they got
He looks
close
like
there anyway.
Justin Long too, the
Mm-hmm.
guy from Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
could see that.
yeah. President Whitmore. That part was written for Kevin Spacey,
Mm.
which is kind of
I
funny
did remember
because he
that.
ended up playing the president
Yes, for
later
House of Cards. Yeah,
until his career imploded.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did.
The Jeff Goldblum character, David Levison,
Mm-hmm.
was originally written and offered to Matthew Broderick, who had conflicts, probably Broadway, and ended up doing Godzilla for Emmerich later instead.
Yeah, yeah. He did that the next movie, I think. Yeah, you're right.
Hmm. And then the only other one I have, which I think is really kind of cool in a genre-related way, is the Judd Hirsch character, Julius Levinson,
Mm-hmm.
was originally written for Martin Landau, but he had a conflict too.
Oh, I could have seen that. That would have been interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
him.
he was in Pinocchio. He
Oh
was playing
well,
Geppetto.
he picked a good one there, didn't he?
Well, I would think this would have been a better paycheck, maybe, but who knows? It was Disney, so
Right.
yeah.
Well, and casting wise, I've got Mary McDonnell, who played the president's wife. Um,
First Lady.
yeah, she has a key for me in that she became the president in Battlestar Galactica. She was the president in the
Oh,
new remake series. And actually, it was interesting because she was really the Secretary of Education, but once the entire cabinet got killed in the first Cylon attack, she had to be sworn in as the president. So, and really phenomenal work in that one. So this was her warm-up, you know. She gets to be in 2 scenes on the phone, almost not make a helicopter flight, crash in a helicopter and die, you know, as First Lady. So there you go.
and get rescued by Will's hooker girlfriend
Yeah, the stripper girlfriend who just happens to be able
in
to,
a giant truck.
yes, in a giant truck that ironically has the, oh, let's put the keys in the visor. Have you ever put keys in a visor? Ever in your
No,
life? I don't know
I've
anybody
never
who
left
has.
keys in a car
It was
ever.
one of the worst tropes ever invented, and yet it was in this movie. It was so, I can't start the car. Oh, let's check the visor. That's where everybody puts their keys. And it just so
Yeah.
happens that it does work, and I can drive this big, huge truck in my stripper heels
Right.
or whatever, and happen upon the president's wife, who's the only survivor of the helicopter crash, and she lives long enough to go back to the
I have a
base.
personal key.
Yeah.
I have a personal key with Miss Vivica Fox. My husband sold her luggage once.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, yeah. I think she must be from around the Baltimore area. But Dennis said that she came into his store once.
Wonderful. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
Well, let's talk about good, bad, and ugly. Why don't we do that kind of thing? Because
Okay.
naturally, although this is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I can just sit and veg and watch it, you know, over and over again almost. Um, I've got like pages and pages of things that are just wrong, like flat out wrong with this movie that are just so. And then we'll talk about good, but
Okay.
uh,
That'll be a short conversation.
no, there's some good stuff. This is it made millions of dollars. It was
Yeah,
like,
Mary McDonald. Remember when she was in Dances with Wolves?
yeah.
Yeah, remember that? That was cool.
Oh my God. Um,
I'm gonna be Chris Farley. Yeah, you remember when Bill Pullman was in Ruthless People?
okay, so
Yeah,
so
that was
I
good.
kind of equate this to it's a '90s Irwin Allen movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Irwin Allen always had these different stories in different areas, all kind of colliding together once the disaster happened, kind of thing.
Well, and they were all, and that was basically that was the set piece. I mean, he built the story around the special effects or the crazy catastrophe that happened.
Right, right. Whether
Right.
it's Towering Inferno or
Right. That, in my opinion, the only one of those that was really good was the Poseidon Adventure because it made sense. It was on a ship. You know, they all were there because they were on the ship,
right,
not because they were characters that just had to coincidentally cross over.
right,
You
right.
know.
Like my
Yeah.
uncle happens to be the fire chief. Yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
but this movie, like you said, is just a a laundry list of coincidences that all happen together, and some of it makes no sense whatsoever. Um, I mean, my first note is okay. So flashing, we use flashing lights to communicate with it, like Close Encounters. We thought that was a good idea, really, to send up a helicopter with flashing lights. That was going to be our recourse for communicating with an alien life form. Um,
mhm.
things wrong. Okay. Nobody sees the ships approaching until literally it's past the moon. Not one astronomer anywhere in the world saw this thing coming in anywhere. Um,
I mean, yeah, we'd have satellites up there, right? They would know the shit. I would
yeah,
hope.
yeah. The aliens pick just the most iconic buildings to attack in each city. I mean, how did they know that? Did they just say, "Oh, all the long-range planning says that White House must be really important. Let's destroy it." You know, um, these are advanced aliens, hugely advanced, enough so that they have these "don't shoot that green shit at me" plasma weapons and shields, and obviously interstellar travel because they got here. but they have to use our satellites in order to give their attack coordinate countdown
Hmm.
thing. They take hours, I think they even say 6 hours to put the ships in place. But
Yeah.
I mean, it takes that was your plan, really? Um,
I
they,
have an ecological one, or like a environmental one, I guess
yeah,
is what I meant to say, is that if they are so advanced, I mean, they obviously can die or bleed like humans. I remember hearing that. But they are very advanced as far as technology and weaponry.
hmm
Then why do they have to go to other planets and rob them of their resources if they're so smart? Why didn't they just come up with ways to have more resources?
right, right, and that's
I mean,
something.
they're just gobbling up planets like Pac-Man, you know?
Right, right. They're like what did the president call them? Locust. He says they're like locusts,
Yes.
and they just infest and everything. And that's another thing. If they're so obviously intelligent that they can do all this, and they are able to tap into our satellites to get them to coordinate, but they don't speak our language or can speak our language. Um, I have later on, so they must have really great Wi-Fi with no passwords in order for him to tap into and plant the virus. They've got Wi-Fi, obviously. Um, and Will Smith is able to knock one unconscious for several hours, even when it's in its suit. So it's like hitting someone in a spacesuit and knocking them out for hours
It
with
would
your
have been funnier
fist.
if that would have hurt.
Yeah.
It would have been funnier to see him go, oh, and grab his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was so stupid and so cartoonish. It was like watching a Roadrunner cartoon.
Yeah. And that whole sequence is like, and who is he talking to? Because he talks that whole time about, I'm gonna line you all up
This,
and get to my, and all that. I could have been at a barbecue.
well, and
It's
when
just,
he says that about the smell, I read that was a real ad lib because they were in the salt flats and it stunk or something.
that would make sense. Uh,
It's something to do with brine, rotten brine.
mm,
So it smelled like rotten seafood, and they said that was literally him saying that, not a line from the script.
yeah.
What's that smell?
What's that smell? I overlooked some of the big obvious ones, like there is no way in the world that not only the dog, but Vivica Fox and her kid would ever survive that. Um,
No,
I mean, just
that dog would have been ashes.
that was ridiculous. That whole scene was that whole. I kind of close my eyes every time I watch that and go, I just don't like this part. Don't do it.
Well, and when she comes out and you see what the fire, whatever you want to call that
The
fire that went through that tunnel,
yeah.
when you see what it did when she's walking through the remnants later,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that door would have been gone and she would be a skeleton.
Well, yeah.
There's no way.
And like fire only follows a straight line. It doesn't go into the little maintenance closet to the
Or
left that's
under the
right
door,
there,
yeah,
or under the
yeah.
door, or anything. Um, her logic is, I want to go to El Toro because that's where he said he would be. Okay, I kind of understand that, but she's just going to lay there and wait and let the president's wife die and everybody else die and everything else, hoping that what? That makes no sense either. And the fact that he goes there looking for her makes no sense. It's just an easy, convenient way to get some drama in there and to get the president to see his wife before she dies. An Earth laptop somehow hooks up to the alien spaceship. I like that one.
Why would why, if everyone in Area 51 is in bio suits, would the president and company just walks in with nothing on?
Oh yeah.
Like there's no contagions. We're here. We're the president and we're crew coming in.
Mm-hmm. How is an Earth virus even going to affect an alien computer? I mean, how's it even? They don't. The aliens, it shows them in a totally different language. On the little alien screen has a different language that. So I don't know how David could have even created the virus to even work. Will Smith's pilot character can fly an alien ship just because one chased him once. um,
Here's a note. Great flight from Air Force One from exploding cloud, just like Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
That no
that
heat.
happened on an episode of Fear the Walking Dead a little while back, and I thought it was the stupidest thing. I mean, they just barely escape a mushroom cloud, on an
Right,
airplane that flies 5 years into the apocalypse.
right, and no,
I can't even talk.
no heat wave from that would affect the plane or get there. Yeah, right. Oh, I have, and the old shortest time we can think of for a bomb timer to give us no time to escape trick. So it's like we put a nuclear device on here. Yeah, we only give you 30 seconds. Why? What? What?
It is Robert Loggia voice.
Yeah. So see if you can get out in time. They have a launch tunnel. What? They haven't been able to do anything with this ship since the 50s, but they built a launch tunnel for it. I found that was interesting.
I have a note. I'm the president with a lot of shit to deal with. My wife, that some stripper just found, just died. And oh, wait a minute, I'm a pilot.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm a pilot. Yeah. Mr. President, I wish you'd tell me what you're doing. Yeah, that one. I've got, oh yeah, don't like data. And then I've got
No, I remember not liking him.
millions of people are killed, but the dog lives. So this is like an anti-John Wick movie. and
Yeah.
and global unity means only Americans can save the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
And I did.
he has that huge speech about this is our day and mankind, and we have to put aside our petty differences. Oh, thank you, Day the Earth Stood Still. But
At the beginning, I started asking myself, is this only taking place in America?
mm-hmm.
Because there's more ships, and then at the end, when the ships start falling, you see other countries. And I was like, oh, okay, so it is all over the world. It's not just Independence Day.
Well, yeah, but right before they do the attack, you see them sending out the Morse code, and then you see Iraq and Russia and China,
Okay. Yeah.
but
I probably
only in
went to
like
the
one
bathroom or
single
something.
shot. And like I love the British guy goes, the Americans are going to launch a counteroffensive, and the other guy goes, all right, thank God for that, or whatever he says. It's just like we've been waiting for them to do something because they're the Americans, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just, it's just all the coincidences of even down to little things like, okay, all right, your girlfriend works for the president. Okay, so she's going to let you in. And the Secret Service is going to let you and your dad into the White House during a international crisis emergency, and even take you to the Oval Office to wait. Not anywhere on the hallway or whatever. Just hang out in the Oval Office for a minute, would you?
Yeah, that was one of mine too. When I saw her waving to them outside the window, I'm like, she's not getting them in that house. And
No.
sure as shit, next thing you know, they're walking down the hall. I'm like, what?
Yep. And he said, what does his dad have that
It's
line about? See if they have those little pins they give away. It was just, oh my God. And that's the other thing that I
and they're on
do.
Air Force One.
I do structurally like, yeah, and then take him on Air Force One and take him to Area
Yeah.
51. And then let him pilot a ship to the moon base or to the mothership. I, I do, I don't, and I do. I don't like the fact that this movie throws so much to comedy all the time. Because it's not even that funny comedy. Randy Quaid is way over the top. The whole thing about then them aliens probe you and
In
all of
all
that.
honesty, that's the part I remember disliking the most.
Yeah,
Even though I had not seen the film in over 20 years, the part I remember disliking the most was Randy Quaid,
I'm
for sure.
back. Yeah, and the having the boys do having Will do funny lines every now and then. Okay, because all of them are done like asides, almost to himself. The whole thing about, oh no, you did not shoot that green shit at me. That was funny. I like the whole thing about we don't do this till the fat lady sings. She hadn't sang yet. He and Goldblum, I think, have really good chemistry. I like all of their funny because Goldblum's eccentric anyway. He's essentially doing the same character from Jurassic Park, in this, I think. But I do like the writing at the beginning of it, the way they do the teaser with the moon. I really like. I think that's a great opening. And I really like the fact that almost all of the initial scenes, like almost the first 10 or 12 scenes, end with some kind of question or cliffhanger. Like David looking down his computer and he goes, "Oh my God." And then it cuts to the White House and blah, blah, blah and whatever. And they have all of these scenes that are like propelling the story forward. You want to go to the next scene because that scene didn't end, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the scenes in the beginning are good because there's no characters or dialogue. The scenes in the very beginning, that is. And then you say, and then when they get in, the dialogue is sparse. They're building the mystery, which is good because there's less dialogue and less character coincidence.
Correct. Before you understand all the coincidences. So, and I've even got a list of them. So I've got like all the scenes at the beginning, like end with questions, like Mr. President, it's coming from the moon. Then wake him up. Would you say that again? He looks at the report and goes, "That's impossible." All those are cut lines. So every time they said that line, it cut to a different scene with a different group of people. So it's almost like that Stephen King thing of end the chapter with a hook. So you want to go to the next chapter.
Yeah, it's more of a Dean Koontz thing, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
It is. I mean,
well, I always remember it because it almost always did that. It left a cliffhanger at the end before it switched times. Because I always
that was intentional with that one book. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I do like the special effects overall, all the way through it. I think are phenomenal.
Yeah, I have a note on that. It's the most miniature work that was ever done.
Ever.
And since CGI was developed, that it will probably hold this record.
Yep, still is. Yeah, like, and the one I always get people with about this movie is, okay, his biplane, when you see his biplane do the crop dusting, over the field at the beginning, and then when you see him in the biplane, he falls out and all that kind of stuff, that's a real plane. Every other plane in it is either a prop or a miniature. Every other plane. They didn't use any other stock footage. So all the planes flying are all miniatures, and they look amazing. They look it looks like Top Gun stuff, it looks good. All the miniature work, the destruction work, of course, works. I like the fact that they built miniatures of the White House and miniatures of the Capitol, and, blew them into little pieces. That was good stuff.
That's the best part. That to me is the best part, is the bleakness of it, and that they literally arrive and annihilate. I mean, that to me is the best part of the story. It's been done before in movie and in books. For some reason, Swan Song is jumping into my head by Robert McCammon.
Oh yeah, good one.
Where it makes more sense because these characters are brought together from various locales, and they have no coincidental crossover, where in this movie it's the exact opposite. Everything is way too convenient. But yeah, if I had to pick a favorite thing about this movie, it would be the obliteration of everything.
Yeah, I like that. And the fact that when they finally ask the aliens, "Why are you here?" and they go extinction. There is no compromise, there is no peace talk, there's nothing. It's, we're here to destroy you all. That's the point. That's it. I like the fact that the music is so symphonic and big, and it builds up and builds up and builds up to the countdown. As soon as the countdown stops, all the music stops too. And you just get all those explosions. So you get the attack on New York, the attack on D.C., the attack on L.A. I mean, it was just really nice.
Yeah, I tried to get Dennis to watch it with me. He's like, "Nah, I'm going to hang out in here." So he went in the bedroom and was watching TV. And like every time I went to the bathroom, I'd go, "Well, Atlanta's gone. Now Philadelphia's gone. So Chicago."
Yeah, Houston. Yeah, I mean the aftermath of this movie would be almost impossible to calculate. Just the sheer amount of destruction of the Earth would be crazy. Just from all those cities, because the initial attack with I guess whatever 10 or 15 ships, all of those cities are gone, so they're all destroyed. And then it went on to the secondary ones, because what the Logia character I think says at one point, we're looking at complete destruction in 36 hours or whatever, every major city.
Okay, you have to do his voice whenever you mention him from now on. That's great.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I wish you'd tell me what you're doing. There's
Wait a minute, I thought this was a comedy. I've got a few awards. It won, go figure, best visual effects for the Oscars
yes.
of 90, I guess 96 or 97. It won best foreign film in Norway.
Well,
they're Norwegian, Mac.
Yeah, they survived. What are they, Swedes?
And it won a BAFTA for sound.
I thought it won. It was nominated for sound though, but didn't win, right?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right. It was a nominee. Damn you! I can't believe you knew that. You're right. I've got it written down.
I did like the sound design overall. I like the different effect sounds they use. I like the rumbles. The way they did the explosions was good. It had those impossible dogfights that no one would ever survive, a la Star Wars kind of thing, Top Gun-y kind of stuff.
I've got a few keys. I just found one more note I wrote, which is just going to encapsulate what we've already been saying.
Yeah.
The strength is FX. Its weaknesses is that it's trite, it's filled with coincidental stereotypes, and it is every bit as bad as I remember it being. So I guess, don't second guess yourself sometimes.
Don't second guess. You hated it the first time. Don't try it again.
Well, you know what? It had been over 20 years. I was willing to give it a shot. I wasn't going to go into this blind, that's for sure. That's
True.
not my jam. Yeah. You mentioned keys.
Yes.
There's 2 literal keys that are mentioned actually in the dialogue.
Yes.
They mention the X-Files, and they mention the day the Earth stood still. Or there's a clip, one. Yeah, there's a clip from Day the Earth Stood Still.
Where is there a clip from Day the Earth Stood Still?
I guess somebody's watching it on television. I know I saw it because I wrote the word clips from Day the Earth Stood Still.
Well, there's a lot of screen watching in this whole movie. If you go back and watch it again and look at how many times characters are looking at screens, it's crazy. It's crazy how many they are.
And apparently there's a bunch of different versions, so we may have seen different versions too.
Well, I think they did do some trimming and editing of different things. Yeah, I'd heard that.
And there's like director's cuts too.
Right. I have a direct key in that, and I can't remember the character who said it now. I didn't write it down, but they say, "I've got a really bad feeling about this," and that's the big line from Star Wars. All the Star Wars movies have that line in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I have Star Wars because of all the flight stuff with Will Smith in the canyon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The canyon is
that's
directly
very
Star Wars. Yeah. That line is Star Wars. The whole dogfight is Star Wars. The whole president's speech has a lot of Day the Earth Stood Still references to it. Even down to we can't be by our petty differences. We've got to be, we've got to unify and work together, all that sort of thing. It's kind of like the...
Why do you sound like Ronald Reagan?
Well, I don't know. But stop there for a second. Even if you don't like the movie, you got to admit that speech by the president is awesome. That's a great speech.
Good morning. Good morning. In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world. And you will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind. Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interest. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
I mean, it's okay. It's one of those moments where I felt like they were reaching to be like, It's a Wonderful Life, though. It's like they're trying to reach for this American nostalgia. I don't know, man. I mean, and I get it. I know it works, and sometimes it's employed very well and effectively. It just seems to me like they were trying to do it, and it just fell flat.
I think what you're trying to say is they were trying to have that kind of slice of Americana all the way through it, from
Right.
stripper with the heart of gold to poor crop duster to president
to brainiac nerd hero.
Right.
Yes.
Who loves his dad, who, and the dad takes care of the children during the crisis and all that.
And a dog.
And a dog, yeah. So, yeah, I can see that they were trying to tap into, Americana. But I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that in that, A, it's Independence Day. It's supposed to be an Americanized film, I think, so to speak. Anyway.
And you don't think that was used for marketing purposes?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was. I'm sure they were like filling in the line. It's like the president's speech. I love the way it's written. I love the way Pullman delivers it. I think is really good. I like the fact that they don't over-edit it. They make it very simple, and they put the music underneath it. And it's very, the biggest key to that is St. Crispin's Day. It is that whole Henry the Fifth doing his big rallying cry to the troops sort of
I'll
thing.
give you that. I mean, it's an attempt at the same thing. I'm not sure it's successful, but yeah, it is definitely a key to Henry V, for sure.
And I love it. I mean, I still, every time I watch this movie, I love the destruction when it happens. And I'm not a big Michael Bay blow everything up guy, you know that, but I do like the effects and the pacing and the timing of the attack, the initial attack. I like the way they handle the wife dying. I think is well done and always gives me a little tear when she goes, "Is Mommy sleeping?" And he goes, "Yeah, Mommy's sleeping now," and it's just a nice little moment. I do like the St. Crispin's Day speech of "We're going to fight. We won't go into the night quietly," that whole thing. And I like the fact that it does have a victorious ending. I don't like the whole walking on the salt flat smoking a cigar and the president and everybody come out to greet you. No, I don't like. I think that's very corny and terrible. And didn't I promise you fireworks? Yeah, look at the fireworks. But
and the whole the whole geography. Like, how the fuck did they all end up in the same place at the end of the movie?
Yeah,
there's no way that would happen.
Well, Will Smith just happens to crash near Area 51 and just happens to
hook up with the caravan of Randy Quaid RV drivers
RV
or
people.
Whatever they are.
Yeah, they
the
all
RV people
taken into Area 51, and then
they're like sand people, but they have wheels.
And then when Levison and Will Smith's character Heller, when they come back from the mothership, they just happen to crash land near Area 51. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Keys.
And what's her face is at an army base.
Yeah, for Will to pick up after he steals a helicopter and goes together.
Please give me a fucking break.
And I'm sorry, the first lady is dying and bleeding to death right here, but kiss me first. You know, let's make out in front of the helicopter lights.
Will, we like the way you're dragging the alien, but could you do it a little more like Eddie Murphy?
Yeah, please. Look, kid.
Just say some stuff. Say some funny stuff.
Yeah, we'll send you back to Fresh Prince, man. You know, you haven't made it yet.
What's that smell?
Must go faster, must go faster. I've got that as a key because that's a direct line from Jurassic Park. That
I've got coincidental character crossover. No, no, no. in all caps.
I've got the minister that marries them is John Sheridan's father from Babylon 5. Same actor plays him. And I like that actor. I cannot remember his name right now, but a really good one.
You've got some sci-fi keys.
I do.
I've got the autopsy scene reminds me of two things. The Thing, obviously.
Yes, that's a good one.
But
yeah.
it also reminds me of those old alien autopsy shows.
Oh, yeah.
Those cheesy ones.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've got Top Gun, of course. I mentioned that one. 2001, I mentioned that one. Because 2001, it says "Good morning, Dave," and he actually has the HAL image on his computer. That's his boot screen.
Yeah.
I've got one we mentioned a couple of episodes ago, which was
what's that?
Rolan Emmerich went on to do Universal Soldier, which he said was set in the same time frame as Blade Runner. So the one with Kurt Russell. So yeah, that was his movie too.
Is it called Universal Soldier? I thought it was just called Soldier.
I think it was originally called Universal Soldier, then it was just called Soldier was the release.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I tried to watch that. I couldn't get into it.
Oh, it was pretty good, actually.
I have a key that I don't really remember, but it says tentacles flashing reminds me of Alien. So somewhere in there was tentacles whipping around and maybe a strobe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've got the word alien written down.
That's again in the autopsy scene. Once it comes alive, very alien-esque.
Oh, okay.
And all the fog and the strobe, and then he grabs Data or the professor and the doctor and pushes him up against the window to talk.
Yes, and I understand that so many people were upset about his death that they decided to make it a coma so that he could be in the sequel. I read that somewhere.
Yes, he is in the sequel. Ironically.
Yeah, but a lot of people thought he died.
I thought he died, and he should have died. People die. President's wife died.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, kind of the point.
That's what I'm getting back to that trite writing. It's like, maybe he didn't die. Maybe he was in a coma.
Yeah, but that was the rewrite in 20 years later, not in this particular one. Because in this one, it's heavily implied that he dies. I mean, you don't ever see him again.
It is. I mean, yeah, he gets slammed up against that glass and that thing's around his throat. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, again, very alien, wrapping around the throat, the tentacle wrapping around the throat.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of, all the classic keys. So I've got aliens, too, because the alien and the Marines and all the fight remind me of aliens, too.
All the military, yeah.
The premise itself, as far as, big ships coming into hovering over major cities is Childhood's End and V and War of the Worlds and all of that. So all of these attacking major cities, but especially the big ships is very Childhood's End and V. And actually I think has been done since then in a couple of other television series and, sci-fi series. The Statue of Liberty reminded me of Planet of the Apes. because it's on its side. Planet of the
Oh,
Apes
yeah,
one is,
yeah, yeah.
but and it's only one
Hmm.
shot, and I really do, it's their post-attack shot when everything's just decimated, and it's just that one
Hmm.
shot of the sunken, knocked over Statue of Liberty and the burning Twin Towers, and the ship's weapon is closing in the background. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. That brings me to a question I was going to pose.
Yes.
Or what do you think would have been the reaction had this movie been released either 5 years later or 5.5 years later?
I don't think you could have done it. I think the studio would have balked at doing that amount of destruction in the United States.
Well, if it had been 5 years later, it would have predated September 11th by about a month and or two. It would have been less than 2 months. So it would have been like really, really popular, and then September 11th would have happened, and no one would ever watch it again,
Yeah.
was what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, they would have pulled it, or it would have never been watched. Yeah, I agree with that. And
Or it was slated later and they just shelved it. Is what I'm thinking. If it was scheduled to come out, in October or something.
oh yeah, yeah. I don't think you would have been able to make it or green light it after 9/11.
Yeah, that just went through my mind as I was watching everything blow up. I was like, ooh, this was 5 years before all the real stuff happened.
Yeah, and to your point, there is a hyper reality to this movie where you don't get the visceral impact of the deaths. You kind of reminded me of it thinking about people were upset that the doctor, whatever his name was, died. But before that, literally millions of people were killed. And there was not
Hmm.
an emotional response to that. It was just like a cool special effect that they all died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, that's a very good point, but I think it lends to what I've said all along. Is it's a big balloon with nothing in it. It's inflated.
right, 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 right.
There isn't a lot of substance to it.
Which to me goes along with that. Oh, well, then you could watch it at the drive-in and not worry about it. You're just watching it for the spectacle. But I do like the fact that they attempt, at least in places, to get the story back in line and to do some
Hmm.
stuff. Um,
Well, and to take a movie that you love, like The Day the Earth Stood Still,
mm-hmm.
have the alien come in and not destroy anything, and then deliver a powerful speech saying, get your shit together, and then leave, is much more effective than a bloated special effects extravaganza. Does that
True.
make sense?
Yes. Totally agree.
I mean, I guess that's me coming from a writer standpoint. I think that there's more power in words sometimes than visual.
I agree with that too. I think there's also much more in the implied threat than there really is in the threat. You
Right.
know, uh, the fact that Klaatu says, you and your petty differences will have to get along, or we'll be back, and it
Mhm.
won't be pretty.
We
You
will
know,
annihilate you.
yes, it's like get you like just like you said. It's essentially Klaatu comes down and says, "Get your shit together," and
Yeah.
then like 5 years later, this movie happens.
Exactly. So you're saying it's a sequel to Day the Earth Stood Still. Okay.
Yeah, there you no, it's
Robert
not. No,
Wise is rolling over in his grave
yeah,
right
it is
now.
nowhere near. No, 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 no. It did spawn a sequel 20 years later, which like I said, I did actually get to watch, and not as good as this one. So for you, you really shouldn't watch it at all. Uh,
I considered watching them before I rewatched this, and then I was like, "There's no fucking way."
well, you would okay. Take all the coincidences that happen in this movie, then push it forward 20 years, and in addition to a bunch of new coincidences, all the coincidences that look like it's just a rewrite of this movie.
I'm a rocket scientist and a pilot.
Yes, and I happen to be the president's daughter. That's in the. No, I swear to God. See, yeah, it is. But I did not know
And I'm
this.
dating an English ambassador.
I didn't know this when I was watching it at first, or when I started watching it. But yeah, one of the principal characters in Resurgence, which is the sequel to this, is Whitmore, the president, Bill Pullman's character. His daughter is grown up. It's 20 years later, and she is a fighter pilot, and she has been to space. She is an astronaut as well. But and her boyfriend is the Will Smith character, the pilot. Anyway, not Will Smith, but 20 years later, his a guy that knows him. So it's all coincidental. But what I was trying to get to was the actress that plays her is the girl from It Follows that we liked so much. The Micah Monroe or whatever, Makia Monroe.
So it was filmed a lot later then. How much longer?
20 years.
When did that movie come out?
The Resurgence wasn't done until 16. Came out in 16.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That came and went. I don't even remember it.
And yeah, did not have the same success as the original. But it was literally set 20 years later. And some of the ideas behind it initially were really cool. Like, oh yeah, we would bastardize all that technology and redo and incorporate it into everything. So we've essentially got levitation on with all of our craft in we have a moon base. We have a defensive
Is it the same guys?
No,
Emmerich and Devlin?
Yeah. It's Emmerich and Devlin. Bill Pullman is in it. Jeff Goldblum is in it. Robert Loggia is in it. Judd Hirsch is in it.
Really?
Yep.
I'm assuming Will Smith is not.
Will Smith is not. Vivica Fox is.
Wow.
But yeah, they explain
That's kind of a dick move on his part.
Well, yeah, Will's character died in a testing accident as a test pilot. So his son is the character in the Resurgence, who is a pilot and an astronaut.
Oh my God. and is played by, I don't know, who's the hottest African American comedian right now? Kevin, what's his face?
No, he wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't him. It was Jesse Usher was the guy that played him in the remake. But Sayla Ward is in it. Liam Hemsworth is in it. And it's got like
Mr. Miley Cyrus.
It's got like 4 cool ideas in it, and then the rest of it is just, oh my God, you have to do all these cliches, all these coincidental things.
Well, they're trying to be a sequel. They want to live up to the original.
Yeah, but that was one of the points we don't like about the original. Don't redo it then.
I know. hey, they're trying to capture that nostalgia.
Yeah, that Frank Capra moment again. Yeah.
Whew.
So.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to it, for our dear listeners, you would not recommend this movie. Is that what you're saying?
Probably not.
Okay.
I would recommend sound or clips of it, maybe.
Well, I would recommend it
like
as
these
a good
special effect clips.
As some of my some people say to me occasionally, well, it's a good ride. And I would say, yeah, that's kind of true for me. At least it is, like I said, a guilty pleasure movie for me. I like the effects. I like the characters. Don't like the coincidences and don't like a lot of the writing. But I do like, for some reason, it works for me. I buy it. But that kind of sums it up. Independence Day. Hey, Tim says no. I say yes. If it's a guilty pleasure,
Oh, I'm just not very patriotic.
There was not one hot dog or barbecue in this whole dang movie. I don't understand.
No, but I sure can fly a biplane.
Yeah, I'm a pilot. I'll help you. Yep. Yeah, his whole character the whole time I was going, really? Oh, I do have one note because, when they start to get scared and then his son says we're leaving because he sees the news broadcast of his dad being arrested because he's talking about being abducted by aliens. And he goes to get his sister, and his sister's in the car with obviously another guy from the RV park who's going, and I have in my mind, okay, who hasn't used the line, "This could be our last night on Earth. You don't want to die a virgin"? Do you line before?
Right. Yeah, when I saw that part, I was like, that's a Horton line from about 30 years ago.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so do go watch it or not, but definitely tell us what you think of it. We would love for you to.
I mean, you could watch it for comedic reasons.
Yeah, or
Too.
you could watch it and hate it, and then let me know, and reinforce Tim's opinion that it's not good.
I mean, I love bad movies. I just like my bad movies to be cheaper and with actors I don't know.
There you go, and not cost
And bad
$3 million
special
or whatever it
effects.
costs. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, I think the budget was like 60 or 70 million for this. It was huge.
It was definitely the top grosser of the year, too.
Well, yeah,
Highest grossing movie of 1996.
I think it ended up becoming for a while, it was like one of the top 5 grossing movies in history. I think. I think it got up there to 600, 700 million, I think. But no, so that will conclude our little wonderful podcast for this week, but we'll be back next week with an even different film.
Yeah, something scary, hopefully.
But do like us, subscribe to us, review us, let us know, email us, comment, friend us on Facebook, all of that kind of stuff. So that
you can sign up for our mailing list. We do an email every once in a while to give you guys some info on what's coming up. Also, our YouTube channel, if you don't necessarily, well, I mean, all the podcasts are on there, but also we do videos from time to time. I do. David doesn't.
Yes, Tim's a
Shame on him.
video guy. But yeah, and so that will conclude this week, and we hope to hear from you soon. So Tim, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
I mean.